Good evening then, ladies and gentlemen across the world. Welcome aboard and welcome back to WOR. This is the Legacy Division. We are now in for our next part of this event here in the Netherlands. We are now on the reverse circuit for what will now be the short qualifying and main event ahead of us. In the commentary box alongside myself, then Leopard, of course, your co-commentator from the previous races sprint. Thank you very much to Bobberts for his excellent commentary for that one in what was a very intense sprint race, Leopard.
Yes, it was. Silo, obviously the pole man, had the lead taken away from him from Volkongen off the start, but eventually was able to get the move done once again, and from there was the man to beat. Had quite a, looked like he just had a little, couple tens in his back pocket. Volkongen never really laid a glove on him, and if anything, it was Silo pulling away. And of course, we had that final lap, a little bit of final lap drama. Dirk making a little error, entering that second DRS zone on the exit of turn 10, and allowed Quantum to breeze on by on the final lap to take a podium for FRT. So, nevertheless, SCI have extended their advantage at the top of the standings, but it could have been a couple points more. Is that going to make the difference at the end of the season? Who knows? It could. It's unlikely, but it could, and that's motor racing in a nutshell. But now we have a completely different beast, don't we, Jota?
Yeah, completely different beast now as we head through into the reverse circuit. By the way, with the completion of that sprint race, we are now officially halfway through this season 6 of WOR Legacy Division, and we are, as we said, at the reverse circuit here in the Netherlands. We do have another double whammy of the sprint race in the forward direction and then the reverse direction for the Great British Grand Prix next week before we round it up at the spooky era of the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix going into the Halloween weekend. Miami following up a couple of weeks later, then following on Japan, Italy, Saudi Arabia, and of course Abu Dhabi. We actually have a little bit of an update in terms of the standings before we get going then. So this is the standings as after the race we had in Austria. But the points tally as they are right now after the sprint race in the Netherlands are as follows. SCI are on 457 now. They're 93 points behind RET8. 252 behind SCI are Ventauri. Then FRT on 139. AMR 904. QRT 84. RSC are on 75. IRT on 71. Then you've got what was Hadrick Racing. More of that in a second on 61. EVR at the foot of the field on 57 as a result of a cracking sprint race, actually, themselves. In fact, I think the points are still being added in for those outside of the top 10, but that is the points haul as it stands for them. We do actually have another one to add, just append right down at the bottom. The TF10 team are now back, of course, after Hadrick Racing closed their doors last week. So they are now in the Aston Martin. They're currently now on 9 points. So then, going through into the drivers, we have these people as standard. FRT, Quantum and Rain. Rain serving a qualifying ban tonight. Lucas and Wards, Lafiti and for Ventari alongside Max. Dirk and Volkongen for SCI, as you saw. Ticho and Tiago for Team TF10, the debutants for this particular race. But TF10, of course, a well-known team within this particular world, if you will. Silo and Matteo at ET8, Phil and Seb, and then Claudio and Dom. A 10-place grid penalty for Claudio and a qualifying ban for Dom. Paulos and Monza both serve a qualifying ban here for QRT tonight. Actually, 21 penalty points last time out in Austria, so they need to keep their noses clean. And then at the foot of the field, and the bruised limes, the lean green machines that is a Kicksauber, KJ and Schumacher racing for them. So we'll get into the live stream now, no more waiting. We have got about 15 minutes left in this qualifying session. Of course, now qualifying, this is a short qualifying, of course, because we've just had the sprint race. So now we're in the reverse direction. After this qualifying, we will be having a quick break before we get on into the main race. Of course, everyone has got to apply the 10-place grid penalty, of course, for the driver mentioned earlier. So, Leopard, reverse track, expectations for a lot of people here is very much, it's a bit of a game of the unknown.
I think you've summed it up perfectly. It is a complete unknown. KJ saying the first time, on at 8.5, Matteo on at 8.4. And yeah, I think it's just a case of just get to grips with the track, not just literally, what are the lines we're taking? What's the right racing line? What gear? What amount of throttle input? What do I need to be aware of? And and so on. It's also probably going to be a chance, and I'm sure the drivers will have done this already throughout the week. What overtaking opportunities are there? Is there anything that changes? Does it become more difficult? Does it become easier? Who knows? I mean, it's a complete unknown. Obviously, reverse tracks are a new thing for this game. So we had one last week in Austria, but Zandvoort, it's a completely different kettle of fish.
Decent effort from the Kick-Saubers then, EVR 9th and 10th after the first round of qualifying laps. Silo once again though leading from the front with that 1 minute 8:006, just 63 thousandths of a second behind though is Volakongen once again. So them two clearly hugging each other at the moment, Silo and Volakongen. So pretty strong from them two, but from opposition teams. Dirk and Matteo also hugging each other, would you believe, in 6th and 7th place respectively. Now make that the shared 4th row of the grid with Max von der Gies coming across the line to go P5. A great effort as well from TF10 team, because Ticho initially showed his pace straight out of the blocks, and now straight out of the blocks in the reverse format. Very happy at the moment with a cracking P4 from him.
Yeah, indeed. Ticho showing his goal pace is carrying over. I think the only thing he won't be happy about, given what happened in the sprint, is currently Max van der Gies is right behind him. And, well, if we all saw the sprint, we... let's say Max van der Gies' move into turn 1 was forceful. I think is the way to put it. It definitely got his elbows out. So we'll see. I mean, look, it'll be great for us as neutrals and spectators if those two decide to start knocking lumps out of each other in the main race as well. But yeah, and it looks like, and this is to be expected, it's, I mean, Zandvoort in its own right is a quirky track, and it's become even more quirky now we're going in the opposite direction. But you could just see, in comparison to the one-shot quali, the gaps are a bit more open, particularly towards the front. You can see Silo, Volakongen, Lucas, and Ticho, all a 10th and a half, which is already more because it was, I think, 3/4 of a tenth that separated the top 6 going the right way, and now it's already a bit more separating the top 4. But you can just see the big thing I'm noticing, Ticho to Van der Gies, a 0.1 to a 0.3, a couple tenths. There's a little bit more of a gap to slot into for any of the drivers if they hook up a lap.
Yeah, that's the critical thing, isn't it? The drivers have just got to try and find their mojo a little bit. I think one of those drivers not finding their mojo so far, actually, to be honest with you, throughout this particular game cycle as well, has been Matteo. He's probably been the biggest shock for me in this particular game cycle. The man of the moment, managing to win world championships only one game cycle ago. Just can't quite get to grips at the moment with this particular game. Started to notice that his pace has started to fall off a little bit. Certainly nowhere near as fast as his teammate Silo, as he's just coming across the final corner to get on with his lap. I think we've had someone actually overtake him at the final corner to get on with it. I believe it's Dirk who just wants to sort of get on with it as well. So, critical stuff here from Matteo, because ETA, this has been, and I keep referring this as their Achilles heel, Leopard. This is the league. ETA can win leagues. They've won other leagues. They've won, other leagues. I'm picking CSS. I'm picking, top tiers league as well. They've also took part in and done quite well in. But WR Legacy seems to be their Achilles heel, and I think Matteo's performances so far is pretty much the epitome of the problems.
Yeah, I mean, when you look, I think the sprint race is kind of, if you look at SCI, it's an example of where the championship is at. Volakongen and Dirk both inside the top 5, and while Salo may have won the race, SCI still, gained points. And with all due respect to Matteo, it was, Matteo was out of the points, and that's how these team events are won. It's, both drivers, doing the business, getting the job done, and that is a good job for Matteo to put it onto the second row of the grid. Ticho, on the other hand, though, putting it onto the front row. Go on.
Yeah, cracking stuff from Team TF10. They'll be happy with this one here. Silo goes
Silo!
fastest. 107.874. Once again showing he absolutely does have the pace. It looks like Seba's gone for a spin in the second sector. So that is his lap over and done as Quantum comes across the line with a 107 of his own as well. Just going a little bit slower by 0.11 seconds in the end. Here as Valakongan comes across the line. He stays in the 108s but goes to P3. Ticho at one point on the front row, now down to P4. As he now actually goes to P5 as we've got here a great effort from Wards. That's the RSC man. Don't get caught out by the TF10 name. He is an RSC driver tonight. As he is going to be very happy with his performance. Another one in the 108.0. So again, a further testament to this particular league's qualifying. It's always hundredths of a second separating yourself from potentially 3 or 4 positions on the grid. Shows that every thousandth of a second counts in the Legacy division.
Definitely. I mean, we saw it in the sprint. Quantum, was 3/4 of a tenth off pole position, and he was 6th. It's crazy how close this is. It's crazy, how league racing has evolved over the years, and it's just fine margins, And we thought fine margins, years ago was like a tenth, 2 tenths. It's now literally thousands of a second that are deciding outcomes in a race, in a qualifying session, in a championship. And it's just utterly bonkers and utterly competitive. It's great to see from a neutral. And I think one other thing I'd say, with this being, Zanvor reverse, it will create an opportunity for an oddball to get involved. Of course, we've looked out, throughout the season, SCI, ETA, they're the main guys. Obviously, then VNC as well can get amongst it. But, as often, with a quirky track, it might just suit a driver perfectly, or a set of drivers perfectly, or maybe a driver will just, get the lap bang on, and we could see an oddball at the front. I mean, I don't want to put any disrespect towards, but when you look at the RSC guys, I mean, of course, this is incredibly competitive. But they are where are they? They are 7th in the standings. If they go and grab a podium, it'd be incredible, wouldn't it?
A little bit of a wide moment there potentially from Schumacher as he's just trying to find the pace that he had actually in the sprint race. He was looking fairly sharp actually. I think the Netherlands is certainly a circuit that suits his driving style, more of an aggressive nature, shall we say, about Schumacher. As he chucks the car through the left-hander, you can see now in the reverse circuit it's very much the same. He's found 2 tenths alone in the second sector, so he clearly knew where all of his time was lost. How's his next corners looking? Very, very aggressive into there and aggressive on the throttle. He's going to go on the grass and he's going to invalidate and straight into the pits. He actually did a double cool push on that occasion, did Schumacher, but on that occasion not going to work. Still plenty of time though, just a bit over 6.5 minutes left in, remember, this short qualifying session, and all I can say is thank God it's a short qualifying session with 4 qualifying bands for this event. It would make for a pretty poor Q1 with only 1 knockout.
Yeah, I think that's a blessing in disguise that that we don't have the full shebang. So yeah, as you mentioned, if there was only one knockout, it would. I mean, poor guy, if you are the one that's knocked out. That's all I'd say. That's a lonely, 40 odd minutes or so being the only one knocked out in Q1. But yeah, as you mentioned, just under 6 minutes remaining. Everyone is going for what will probably be their penultimate go at this. And yeah, we'll see if anyone can dislodge Silo at the top. I don't think it's going to be this time from Quantum as he gets onto the grass on the exit of
Ticho.
Turns 1 and 2.
Lucky shot with Ticho though. He's managed to find about a 10.5 in the second sector. First sector was not too bad as well actually. Matched his fastest attempt, so he's now going to chuck the car through the final corner. Maybe a little bit of a missed apex, so he might be reeling here as he comes across the line. Should see a 107 though, as he does go 107.935, so he goes to P2. But again, he was P2, but then he fell down the order because of course the track is starting to evolve. But I'll be honest with you, it's starting to darken up again here. Quantum's not improving. He's down 8 tenths of a second, so he'll be on a double cool push. Valakongan is up in the first sector by about 9 thousandths of a second, The first sector doesn't seem to be where all the lap time is at the moment. It's certainly in the second and especially the third sector. Here's the second sector split. 54 thousandths up then for Volakongan, so he's putting him in touchy distance of Quantum, but he's still a little bit out of the reaches of Ticho at the moment. Here he comes then around the hairpin, take the corner at the left side, then try to get on that curve there. He misses it ever so slightly, not confident there as Silo goes fastest, and I'm not sure what Volakongan was up for there. I think he was trying to late dive into the pits and then he realised he was going in too quickly. So out he will go, but he did cross the white pit lane exit, and that could line him in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get involved on that one, but yeah, not ideal if you're Volakongan. Yeah, I couldn't quite see what happened. I was on board with Silo. That car of Silo's just looks hooked up. It does look like, you know, I think where Silo is right now at this very moment around the Zandvoort circuit, and you see it with drivers. I think I remember, I think it was the season Rens Thomason won his WR title. It just looked like, well, of course it's just one race, but over the course of that season, it just looked like Rens had a tenth or two in his back pocket over everybody. You know, consistently just looked like he was comfortable. And I think that's what we're seeing from Silo here today. It just looks like he's just got an extra tenth or two over the rest of the field.
Yeah, and he's finding it every single sort of straight. Is just finding the time is just such a nice place to be when you land on a straight and look up in the top right hand side of your screen and see that you're in the green, as we're just following Claudio Diaz. In fact, he's just going into the pit lane as the AMR driver, and now as actually, I believe, if I'm right in saying this will be now the third Spanish team taking part now in the Legacy division, because of course with TF10 team now joining the outfit, that now means we are in for 3 Spanish outfits as part of this particular championship, which always a pleasure to see the worldwide affair that is the World Online Racing's Legacy division sort of kicking off. And of course TF10 team, what a valiant name it is to have them back in this championship, of course after not qualifying as well in pretty shocking circumstances in the main qualifier. They now are back for the quite literally the rest of this half of the season. So, you know, obviously no expectations of anything massive here for TF10 team, but it's got to be a foundation layer. They've got to refine the pace that they had over the last couple of seasons when they took part in this tournament, and then of course carrying it over into the next half of the potential season.
Yeah, definitely. I think when you hear a situation like that, it's definitely, you know, it's a wake-up call, isn't it, for any team. I think like my memory could be letting me down massively here, but I think I remember when I was driving for Shazur, I remember though, I think we didn't make it one time, but we got amongst it very quickly as the team dropped out. But you know, nevertheless, it's like it's a wake-up call when something something like that happens. Like you expect to make it, and then oh no, it's gone wrong, you know, and you have to regroup. And you know, for TF10 right now, it's a case of, you know, in a sense, the next, you know, this half of the season is kind of, you know, you can be free in a sense. You know, mentally, you're not going for anything. You can just build on what you've got, and you know, lay the foundations for the next season, and hopefully don't get caught out in qualifiers again.
A little bit wide at turn 3 for Schumacher. He's just in the third sector now, though. Speaking of 3, as he's just looking to at least elevate himself a little bit higher than P15. Again, he had a lot of pace in the right direction, but in the wrong direction he's struggling a little bit. We'll see where Schumacher comes across the line right now. It's a 108.3. He's still behind his teammate here, KJ, on his way to out-qualifying his teammate in this particular event, as we've got other laps starting to come in. First person out of those in the sort of top 4 will be Ticho. That's the Team TF10 driver. Of course, after Hadrick Racing's demise this week, they handed over the keys to the Aston Martin over to the Spanish outfit, as TF10 team looking to set an early precedent. And 9 points in the sprint race, looking fairly sharp. And I tell you what, looking even sharper in the second sector. He's found 54 thousandths of a second in the second sector. It might not be enough at the moment for pole, but he's certainly going to be breathing down the neck of the ET8 man here. So he comes now across the left-hander and the final corner, and it will be the checkered flag being waved in just a moment as he comes across the line right now, does Ticho. and he will not be improving. In fact, he is 72 thousandths up on
Well,
that particular
Quantum.
one, but he will stay where he is. Quantum is looking very sharp. He's gone purple in the second sector here as Silo comes across the line with another cracker of a lap with a 107.728. But Quantum's second sector is faster than Silo's on this occasion. So where will the FRT man go as Mateo has gone P3? Will Quantum look to improve and go P2? He certainly has. 107.822. He's 400ths of a second faster than Ticho on this occasion. What an effort from RSC and Wards. P5 for him as it stands as well. Ticho will not be going any further by the looks of things. We've got Volakongan now on a lap himself, looking to finish his lap. Will he get anywhere near here and try and get somewhere as the fastest SCI man? It will be P4 in the end for Volakongan. It's a solid effort from the Mercedes outfit. Of course, his teammate Dirk is down in P11 at the moment. He's well down the field. He'll go P7 in the end. That's not too bad from the SCI man. Tiago enters the pit lane for TF10 team, so no improvements here. No improvements for Steve either, so he's down at the back in P14 alongside Phil. Claudio is P16 in the end, and the slowest out of those that took part, and of course, Rain, Monza, Dom, and Paulos are those that didn't take part in qualifying. So that's the end of qualifying. ETA, Sprint Merchants, not so much. The Reverse Merchants as well, they're on pole.
Indeed they are, and you know, Silo is going to be the man to beat, and I think, you know, something to mention, that's a much better qualifying for ETA than it is for SCI. I mean, it could have been a lot worse for SCI, was looking a lot worse for SCI. Dirk's kind of coming clutch a bit there to put it at the head of the fourth row, because I was looking a bit shaky from the second SCI driver. And yeah, Volakongan came up with the goods as well to put into P4. It was looking a little bit shaky in that qualifying session for SCI. I don't think they're quite getting along with the reverse grid as well as reverse track, as well as they were with the main direction, if you will. But ETA with Silo on pole, Mateo, you know, has put himself in a position where he can get amongst it. Might be a chance to just get, you know, claw a few more points back. We'll have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see indeed. In the end, less than a tenth of a second separating Silo from Quantum. Ticho, great effort though from Team TF10 to get on the second row alongside Volakongan. Mateo is in P5 from Wards, and then Dirk, Lafiti, Tiago and KJ rounding out the top 10. Lucas from Max von der Geest, then Schumacher in a lowly P13 for him from Sieb, Phil and Claudio Diaz rounding out the 16 drivers that took part in qualifying. And of course the bottom four, Rain, Monza, Dom and Paulos. They were not able to take part in qualifying after being banned. That will now take us into a very brief break, as we've got to go into a little bit of a intermission as we take a moment to just reflect on this particular qualifying. We should be in for an absolute cracker in just a few short moments, where of course the reverse track, well, I think we're expecting high attrition of anything, should be taking place. But in the meantime, we'll be back in just a few short moments. Don't go away. wouldn't be World Online restarts without a few technical hitches in this particular race. We are experiencing, excuse me, just a quick issue with one of the drivers, just trying to get him in the lobby, and then we'll be getting going in just a few short moments, just a few minutes away from the reverse track of the Netherlands at Zandvoort. Don't go away. Welcome back then to WOR. This is the Legacy Division. We should be in for an absolute crack of a race in just a few short moments. We are just waiting on a few confirmatory bits and bobs before we get going in this one. One of them being the grid. But of course, we are in for an absolute blinder of a race. It is myself, Jota, alongside Leopard tonight for this one, your commentary pairing for this race in the reverse circuit at Zandvoort in the Netherlands. We should be in for, as I said, an absolute cracker here, Leopard. Very quickly, we should be looking at what could be a little bit of a mixed bag here, because the expectation for this particular race is, well, it's obviously going to be one of a strong level of unknowns, because of course it's the first time we're taking a trip to a reverse circuit at the Netherlands. We are expecting potentially 14 and 13 to be the hot spots potentially for some overtaking, or what is now turn 1, turn 2. But between these drivers on the field here tonight, with plenty of qualifying bans and the 10-place grid penalty for Claudio, should be a little bit of a mixed bag.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we spoke about this in qualifying, that it is an unknown. It's going to allow, unknowns allow opportunities for crazy things to happen in racing and in sport in general. Excuse me. But we were just having a brief conversation, weren't we, in the break about, where moves could be made, because, there's been very little racing as the drivers are beginning to ready up. So where do you make an overtake? What's likely? Is there anything that's clear cut, or is it, does it have to be forced a little bit? Do you have to get a bit creative? Where can you get creative? Where is, what parts of the track are just single file, absolutely don't even try anything? What's, opportunity, what's open? What if someone decides to be a bit creative, could turn into an overtaking opportunity? We were speaking about this, most likely another opportunity is going to be down into what was turn 3, Tarzan. That could be another opportunity, getting the run down the hill into there, and potentially, maybe not for the majority of the race, but I'd still say on a last lap into what was turn 1, or is now the final corner, because what I noticed throughout qualifying is into what is now the penultimate corner, they're setting up the final corner. They're opening up what is now the final corner, which does allow on the final lap, an opportunity to maybe throw on down the inside. Or do you cover? You don't know, do you? But I wouldn't be surprised if it comes down to it that is an option on the final lap. But I think in general, you'd want to set it up down into what is now turn 1.
And from my experience as well, the race that I saw was dry, wet, dry. when I last commentated on this one, and turn 14, turn 13 seem to be, and by the way, this is turn 14, 13 in the direction of the usual direction for everyone watching. Turn 14 and 13, or what will now become 1 and 2, will be the main hotspots for overtaking, especially the outside of 14. Keep an eye out on that one, because if someone's brave enough to go up on the camber of that, that could be a particularly good overtaking opportunity. Saw a couple of dive bombs, but unsuccessful at turn 12. But we would see people potentially sizing up opportunities from turn 9 all the way up to turn 3, and the expectation would be that they'll probably look for a gap at around turn 7 for Tarzan. So that will be also your sort of ones to watch here, that slow burner as you go down turn 7 through down the hill towards turn 3, as you said, Leopard. So that is going to be one to watch for this one. In terms of weather, it has been particularly overcast throughout this entire race weekend, both sprint as well as qualifying included, and no exemption for the race as well. Quite overcast out there, but there is a little bit of sunshine just creeping and burning through the clouds before we get going in this race. There won't be too long before we get going in this one, Leopard. Early indications suggesting Silo's got this one in the bag, but is it going to be clear cut for him?
It's not completely and utterly clear cut for Silo, but he is the favourite. Can things happen? Of course. I wouldn't say it's a foregone conclusion, or it's not necessarily a case of, you know, the only man that can beat Silo is Silo himself, sort of thing. He hasn't got that much of an advantage, but he does have a noticeable advantage over the rest of the field, and if given an opportunity, you know, to pull the pin and check out, he'll take it.
So we should be on for an easy one stop, we think, for this one as well. So strategy-wise, we should be in for a crack, and everyone's going to be readying up. So in 10 seconds' time here, Silo favourite, or do you think someone else has got a chance?
Well, the question is, can someone, you know, rough up Silo? I think that's the question. I'm going to say no. I'm going to be boring and say Silo's going to take this, but we'll see. If he gets a similar start to what he did in the sprint, and if Quantum can make a move, then it's anyone's game. A lot is going to depend on the first couple corners, I reckon, of this race, because if Silo gets a whole shot, you know, leads, you know, into one through 1 and 2, he could very easily control it from there. It's well, no,
we should see. Here we go. Here with the drivers lining up, they're counting down the lights to 5 here in the reverse circuit at Zandvoort. No more waiting. Let's go racing here in the reverse circuit at Zandvoort. Silo leading the way, then immediately getting the jump. Quantum almost then going into the corner, but they continue to go towards the turn 1 then, where it's all turn 14, looking fairly sharp for Taicho as well, and on the gravel and out of this race. Quantum will sink down to the back all the way to P19 after going wide, and Ticho now takes control of P2 from Volakonga, and Matteo, who's looking for the move around the outside of Volakonga, but no move there necessarily. 1 of 36 laps race in this one here. Here comes Tiago down the inside then. This is Team TF10 immediately trying to put the pressure on Lafitte here, the Ventauri driver. There he comes then. This move now going to be keeping all in formation as they go around this particular part of the circuit, and then they'll be looking for this opportunity. This corner right here, turn 7 is what it once was. They'll look for it and see if there's a potential gap opening up now towards Tarzan turn number 3 as they go down the hill towards these next set of corners. A few lockups expected, a little bit wide from Tiago as we've got more people overtaking. It looks like KJ and Max von der Geest getting in their own little scrap here, side by side. Oh, into the wall, and there they go. Here is KJ and Max von der Geest in the wall now. Who's got away without damage? I think they both got away without it, but I'll tell you what, not the cleanest way to get that one done, but Max von der Geest is down to P14. I'm not sure if there's damage. There may be significant damage here for them, and they will now fall down the standings as Quantum now promoted back up to P15. Silo leading the way, but still a second gap from Ticho, from Volakonga, from Matteo, and Lafitte as your top 5.
It is very scrappy towards the back at this moment in time. Quantum's actually got all the way back into 14th after what was just an unlucky start, just wrong place, wrong time. No one did really anything wrong. It's just, it kind of, you know, that turn, what is now turn 2, it's a bit of a choke point, you know, and everything's so concertinaed and tight, and it was just unfortunate. You know, I don't think anyone did anything wrong. It's just a racing incident that, you know, Quantum has come out heavily worse in. And, you know, it's a real shame for himself and FRT, because he was looking in, you know, in a really good position, for the very least the podium, and would have been there to take advantage of any error from Silo, who, by the way, is already looking like he might. He's threatening to check out. DRS is enabled, so that'll help Tijo's cause a little bit. But Silo is a man on a mission, and we could see him very easily check out potentially. We'll have to wait and see. DRS is powerful. It'll keep Tijo in range for only for so long. But it keeps him in range for the time being. Where, I mean, Van der Geest hasn't had the greatest start, obviously, with that contact with KJ. The other Venturi car there of Latifi has had a great start, up 3 positions. Same with Tiago and the other TF10 car. So all in all, great start for TF10. And, and for Venturi with Latifi getting amongst it in the top 5. Now, he's now, after that good start, he's in the conversation for a podium place. Volokongan as well, solid as ever. Making up 1 position as a result of the quantum incident down into turn 2. Dirk lost a position as well, but that's not going to be too much of a concern. But right now, ECA are in a good position.
So, situation report then as it stands. Silo still holding on from Ticho, Volokongan, Matteo and Lafiti. Confirmation, KJ and Max van der Geest did get damage from that collision. So they've both pitted and are now on a set of hards. They're going to have to go quite a long distance on a set of hards. So I think a 2-stop is potentially on the cards for them. Let's go back into the midfield if you don't mind here, folks, as we're just keeping an eye out now on Lucas, Sieb, Claudio and Phil, as Quantum is now a man on a mission. He's had enough of this situation after whatever happened at turn number 1. He wants to clear his head and get on with it. So now he's going to be considering his overtakes as Paulos has retired. He's crashed at turn number 1 and the safety car has come out as a result. So everyone now neutralised, and KJ and Max van der Geest will be thanking their lucky stars that they can now get at least to the back of the field and have another go at this one here, and a potential free pit stop to get off of the hard tyres if they want to. With a 27-second gap, I wouldn't expect them to get a jump on people if anyone elects to make any pit stops, but we're very early in this race. Paulos has lost it. Looks like off camber at turn number 1, and he's crashed it at the top of the hill, and that as a top of the incline as well on the bank corner. And the Williams outfit in Team QRT are now down to 1 driver in Monza with that solitary point in P15.
Yeah, not a great day at the office so far. For those guys. But yeah, I was just about to say, looking at Silo and everyone else up front, what do you do? Do you stay out? Do you come in? I mean, it's early on, but it's a free pit stop, and more often than not, you can't really turn that down unless you're SCI Dirk, who has started on a hard compound tyre, will elect to stay out on that. In fact, he's the only one that stayed out, which, well, usually says one of 2 things. He's either winning this race or he's made an absolute howler. Usually, he's made an absolute howler.
Makes sense to me. At the end of the day, those that have elected to move on to a hard tyre are not going to be able to take these hard tyres 31 laps, even with a safety car. In this situation, so as a result, Dirk has got everyone behind him who is going to be on the same compounder tyre. He hasn't really used the tyres either, and he's got to go, and they've all got to make a pit stop anyway. So actually, if you've started on a hard tyre, you're in a really good position if you decided not to pit. Unfortunately, there have been people that were on hard tyres that have elected to pit for another set of hard tyres. So now the leader of this race is the Suzuki Igniter of Dirk alongside Silo. Then you've got teams TF10 teams Taicho alongside Volokongan, and then ET8's Matteo. Ventauri are in 6th place with Lafiti from RSC's Wards. He's had a cracking race weekend as Wards as well, so he should be really proud of the performance he's put in, alongside Tiago, Sieb and then Claudio rounding out the top 10. In the other points positions, Quantum now up to P11 from Lucas. There you've got QRT's Monza, Schumacher, and then the International Racing Team driver of Phil in P15. So lap 5 of 36, we're now behind the safety car. I would anticipate the safety car will be in probably at the end, if not the next lap, to certainly the one after. But with everyone on a set of hard tyres on a circuit that, well, if you're going particularly slow on, these tyres are going to get cold quite quickly. We could be in for people being caught out purely by the lack of mechanical grip because of how green the tyres are going to feel.
Yep, it's plausible. So, the safety car restart is going to be one to look out for if anyone makes an error. Of course, not only, with everything now being bunched up again, the cold hard tyres is, well, they're not the one. I know that from experience. You know, cold hard tyres are not nice. So yeah, that'll be something to look out for on the safety car restart. Okay, you know, I think, you know, the other thing to look out for, you know, I mean, you'll probably know this better than me, Jota. Is there any chance, is there any possibility that those that have now pitted on that safety car can go to the end?
No.
Or is it completely out of the question?
Absolutely, absolutely out of the question. There's no way they're going to be able to go 31 laps, even with this safety car period, on a set of hard tyres without their tyres literally bursting. I think the most I've managed to see on a race that managed to actually get the distance and actually punctured on the final lap as they were going down the back straight was a 24-lap stint on a set of hards, and that was with an extreme tyre conservatory approach as the safety car is in at the end. Why is it full caps? It's safety car in this lap. All right, fair enough. Safety car is in at the end of this lap in full capital letters from the inbuilt race director, as Jesus Cedar Igniter of Dirk will now slow everyone down as he becomes the de facto safety car as he goes through Tarzan in the wrong direction around the right-hander. As you can see off camber there, that could be a little bit of a cause for concern if the tyres are still cold going up that particular corner. He will then try and catch the Silo off guard here. He's not weaving too aggressively, so he's happy to just try and catch him off guard around the final corner. Is he going to go, or is he going to leave it as late as he possibly can? He is leaving it exceptionally late here. I've seen a lot of people go well before the final corner, but Dirk is leaving it very late indeed, and in fact he's going to catch people off guard, and there he goes. They go green again, and he's caught Silo out completely as they go 3 wide, potentially going into turn 1, and that is going to be a great move around the outside here from Taicho. If he can get this one working, he'll continue around the outside, and the Aston Martin squeezed onto the grass as Silo just able to hold on to the position in the end. Valakongan is getting squeezed here by Matteo as well. SCI has got another yellow flag wave, and it's a full course yellow, but it's a virtual safety car out on the circuit at the moment, I believe. I've not seen a full safety car here, but we do have a virtual safety car out, and look at the delta spread between all of the drivers out on the grid here. If anyone catches just a thousandth of a second, they could get a double jump here on those around this bit of the corners. Everyone just slowing down. Everyone's slowing down now to try and maintain a formation. So lap 7 of 36, I believe the virtual safety car caused out by one of the FRT drivers. It's Rain. You can see he's missing his left side end plate is the McLaren, so he's now down to P17 with a pretty extensive wing damage for the FRT man. It's been a really shocker of a race, hasn't it, for the Future Racing team, folks. We've got to send them all the Fs in the postcard for them, because it is just such a disappointing event here so far from Rain and from Quantum as well. Quantum, obviously a man on a mission. We'll see when this virtual safety car comes to an end. It should be imminent, we expect, but the tyres, of course, are going to be ice cold now as a result of this one. A 10-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags for Phil, I believe. I think he was looking to just try and enter the pit lane, actually, was Phil, so I'd be surprised if that stands. Either way, we go green again here in the Netherlands, and as it stands so far, again, Taicho putting pressure on Silo here for P2, but not as much pressure as the end of that first safety car period.
Yeah, indeed. One other thing to mention, Ward's on that safety car restart, or the first safety car restart, was a victim of whatever happened down into turns 1 and 2. I didn't catch what happened, but it is a shame for the Ferrari. And it's, yeah, you know, he was looking good, wasn't he? Was Ward's, where it's just not, yeah, just caught up in an incident. It happens. Now we'll shift our attention to how, I guess, can Dirk hold on? Because look at the speed Silo's carrying down the hill. Here we go. Then he's going to think about a move. Maybe into Tarzan. Is Dirk going to have to get defensive into Tarzan? No. Thinks better. Orville doesn't feel the need to, but Silo just looking like he's got so much more grip and confidence in that Alpine for ETA, and it's potentially, you know, crucial for this race if Dirk can maybe, you know, keep Silo at bay. The longer he keeps him at bay, the more chance he's got. But I think Silo's got such an overspeed. Here we go then. Easy as you like. Silo back into the lead of the Dutch Grand Prix.
Yeah, and keeping an eye on Taicho as well, because he's not really burning through any of his ERS either, so he's actually got a lot of confidence in that Aston Martin at the moment to just hang to the back of these three here, as it looks like Dirk is giving the position of Taicho so then he can give the position to Volakongan. He's not confident at all on these 8-lap-old hard tyres. I'd be very surprised if he's burnt through them as aggressively as he has, because he spent 2 laps behind the safety car and about a lap and a half behind a virtual safety car. So I have a sneaky suspicion that's just SCI telling him to get out the way, give Taicho the position, allow Volakongan free air to get on with it. But if I'm perfectly honest with you, not entirely sure what the call is on that one. But SCI have been fabulous with their racing strategies in this particular season, so there's obviously something cooking at the moment at the Scottish outfit. Here's Matteo. We're on board with the other ET8 driver. He's trying to close down on Lafitte. Now, he's not in particularly good stead in terms of form at the moment, but he was getting in the mix there, trying to battle it out after that safety car period. He hasn't got any damage, so he's just getting on with it, but he's at the moment looking like he's just under a little bit, tiny little bit of pressure, more so from Thiago than he is putting pressure on Lafitte.
Yep, indeed. I think, just briefly going back to what Dirk did a lap ago, I think that, the WOR account in the chat basically taking the words out of my mouth. That, I think it's more, not necessarily allowing Volakongan through, it's more, don't let Silo get away, because the longer Dirk on those tyres was going to sit there in front of T-Show, you know, Silo would have checked out, and you know, this race for victory would be done. Now Dirk's got out of the way, it allows T-Show, you know, to stay within range of Silo, and it also, in the process, allows Volakongan to do the same as well. So that was more of a move of don't allow Silo to check out more than anything, as far as I can see. As Dirk gets a little bit of a tank slap, and yeah, now it's you know, Dirk is going to be on the back foot for basically the remainder of this stint, and we'll see if Latifi can put a move on the SCI driver himself. And Matteo's also closing up a little bit now. He's had a bit of a better lap as the ET8 man. And well, here comes Latifi around the outside again, not quite. I think that's really a corner where you need, you know, at least enough for your car alongside. You can't really, I'm going to stick your nose in there, are you? You need a lot of your car alongside to kind of make that one happen if you're going to commit to it. So at best you commit to it, because I dread to think what would happen if you kind of, what's the word? Words left me.
Oh,
undercommitted, half-hearted.
I'll let you think about that one here, as we've got T-Show trying to get as close as he can to Silo. Now, I'm going to be honest with you here. T-Show, last couple of laps, he's been getting close. He's been sticking within the DRS of Silo, so he's not letting Silo check out here at the moment. But it's going to be fairly critical couple of corners now here for T-Show, because otherwise he's going to start burning through his ERS to try and keep up. And he's gone a little bit wide going through one, but he is taking the wider line. He's more comfortable with the wider line, while Silo is locking up and taking the more closer inner line. But it is working for Silo, because the gap is now around about 9/10 of a second, but DRS still available for the Aston Martin. He'll use some of his overtake if he can, as he lost his, in fact he has lost his DRS. I'm kind of surprised he's lost his DRS, because he was still within the 1 second barrier. So
I don't think he was by detection. By the detection point, I don't think he was in, because he went wide. He went wide at Tarzan, didn't he?
Well, maybe, I'm not sure, but I was under the impression he still managed to stay within the second, but if not, then fair enough. But what an awful time it would be if he had a DRS failure, but obviously he's perfectly fine now. So Ticho will be looking to try and stay within the DRS. It's fairly critical now. You know, in the first sector, Ticho is sharp. He's so quick in that first sector, but this is where Silo is just absolutely peak. In the second sector, he just turns the car, and he's got so much confidence in that Alpine Renault at the moment. The ET8 man is just looking to just keep the distance here from Ticho. But I'll tell you what, a great recovery lap this one actually from Ticho to just carry the speed. Again, he goes wider going through what is turn 3.
That's why he's losing time.
He is losing all of his time at turn 3, but that's because he prefers that line. He perhaps finds a bit more comfort at that line, but that's what's costing him a chance of potentially going for this race victory here.
Yeah, we'll have to go on board with Silo and see what Silo does through that final corner, or through Tarzan, sorry, next time around, because whatever Silo's doing in comparison to T-Show, that's basically where the time is. You know, just looking at that lap, you know, T-Show, you know, was at least neutralising Silo throughout the rest of the lap. If not, had a tenth or two. You know, he probably pulled a tenth or so, didn't he? On the man in front. But then you just see that gap just suddenly shoot up to, you know, 9/10 to a second through one corner. Which, oh, hello, Matteo on Dirk. Matteo's got the job done. Whilst we were speaking about racing lines through Tarzan, Matteo, in a, boy, it's a big move, ET8 on SCI, moves up into 4th place, loses the DRS to the car ahead in the process, but he's split the two SCI drivers, and that's big news for EC8.
Big lockup going into turn 3 from Silo, but he is hitting the apex absolutely perfectly. But on this occasion, Silo actually didn't gain as much time as he once would have done throughout here. So this is an opportunity now for Teacher, because we know he's faster in the first sector, so he needs to get as close as he possibly can. Put Silo under a little bit of pressure here, and I think Silo may start to be feeling it here, because I think perhaps ET8 were expecting Silo just to sort of run away with it, but look how much time he's gaining in the first sector alone. He's got so much confidence in that Aston Martin. Here he comes then through this set of corners, go for the wider line, but take a little bit of that curb on exit, and then here he comes then going here, DRS open. Gap is now going to be under around about half a second. Now this is a fairly critical set of corners here. Silo, it has been a little bit faster through here than Ticho throughout this particular race, but if Ticho could keep that pressure on Silo and force a little error, the Aston Martin is going to be in prime position here to potentially be on for a race victory. And what a race victory it would be for Team TF10 as well, because of course, remember, they're not qualifying at one point, and they're making their way up to race victory in their first race return, if you will. Here they go through turn 3. There it is. Ticho's learning. He's witnessing, he's watching Silo and knows where all that time is gaining. So now he's willing to give up a few tenths here and there to find that optimal line, knowing he can stay within the DRS of the man in front of him.
Indeed, it looks like, in general, Silo prefers, you know, to kind of make his time through corner speed. You know, nice, flowing, smooth lines. It looks good to watch, and when you watch T-Show, it looks like he's V'ing the corner a bit more, doesn't he? Kind of diving in, lay on the brakes, sacrificing a bit of corner speed, and, you know, get a late apex and fire it out of there, whereas Silo looks a bit more flowing, using, you know, the middle of the corner to find his time. And it just looks to be more effective, particularly through Tarzan. But I say that, T-Show has gained a lot in this opening half of the lap, hasn't he? And also to mention, Volakongan was looking close to the back of T-Show as well. Matteo's also getting amongst it as well. So the second ECA driver is also potentially looking to join the party, which will mean Latifi will want to try and get past Dirk as quick as possible to make sure those front four don't check out into a race of their own.
And Lafiti, remember, is now within touching distance of Dirk, while Dirk is on the brink of potentially falling out of DRS on Matteo at the moment here. 3/4 of a second separating Silo from Ticho as Matteo is going for the dive against Volakonga. No move on this occasion from the ET8 man, but he could look for it going into 14. Is he sized up the opportunity? Volakonga defending with the use of his ERS, so no move as of yet for the team in 3rd and 4th, as Volakongan Dirk is getting overtaken very well indeed around the outside of 14 and 13 from Ventauri's Lafiti. It's absolutely class overtake. We did say that would be a bit of an overtaking spot, didn't we, here, Leopard? That turn 14-13 move around the outside, the amount of grip that you get around there, around that outside, or believe it, on the banking of the corner seems to be absolutely wonderful. Now Tiago is looking to put Dirk under some pressure as well in the other Aston Martin in this race as well. Gap now 0.89 and 9/10 of a second for Ticho and Silo. Actually, it's going to get pretty close here, especially considering they're nowhere near Tarzan, and this is where Ticho's been losing the majority of his time. Is he going to fall out of DRS here as he goes through Tarzan? Lock up very wide from Ticho. That could cost him dearly. Here he comes then around the corner. He's just going to get DRS, but again, Ticho is just not learning his lessons at Tarzan, and that corner alone is costing him a chance of potentially racing for the race victory here.
Yep, indeed it is. I mean, look, he gains a little bit of time, but, you know, a little bit of time back. But when you look at, you know, the delta throughout the entirety of the corner, Silo's still gaining, you know, 2/10 easily, you know, through Tarzan, whilst Tijo maybe gains half a tenth to a tenth back on exit. You know, their overall delta is still 2/10 in Silo's favour, and it is currently the story of this race, isn't it? You know, Silo keeping T-Show at bay through Tarzan alone. Throughout the rest of the lap, it's fairly even. If not, T-Show, albeit not by much, might be a little bit quicker throughout the rest of the lap. We'll have to see. Of course, we are going to be slowly approaching pit stop phases, aren't we, Jota?
Yeah,
so, you know, that could also play a deciding factor. Are we going to see an undercut, an overcut, or a tyre offset? You know, what's going to win this race? We'll have to wait and see. Because if you can't get it done on track, then strategically is definitely another place where you can get stuff done. Volokongan looking close to the back of T-Show, as is Matteo to Volokongan. And well, I did mention that Laffiti would want to get past Dirk to avoid the top 4 checking out. I think, unfortunately, that top 4 has checked out, and it is a 4-way fight for victory. And most importantly, if you're ET8, 2 of those cars are in said fight. Sure, one of the cars is an SCI car as well, but you know, in these team events, what wins the championships is having both those drivers scoring big points, and that's why SCI have the lead they do at this stage of the season.
We're about 4 to 6 laps away, I think, from the this stint of hard tyres potentially coming to an end. And I tell you what, for Dirk, it will be absolutely critical for him now to have these tyres changed, because these 17-lap-old hard tyres, albeit, of course, 3.5 laps behind either safety cars or virtual safety cars, are not going to feel particularly great. You can see him washing out wide. It's just car sliding out sideways without, but whilst trying to go straight on. It's not a particularly clean set of tyres here. So just on board with Tiago to watch Dirk here. You can see Dirk is also trying to save as much of his ERS as he possibly can as well. He's had to burn through a significant more chunk of his battery in that Mercedes power unit in order to obviously maintain some kind of decency out on the circuit at the moment. But you would expect Dirk to pit a little bit earlier, and he's going to have to manage his tyres, but that undercut will be pretty powerful to get back in front of Laffiti, but probably not too close, or not close enough rather, in that battle against potentially Matteo or Volokongan. So at the moment at the front of the field, Silo just losing a bit of his edge now against Ticho. Ticho now managing to close down the gap once again to around about half a second. So he'll continue his push to try and get close to Silo. And if I were him, why not commit to the undercut? Because that would be potentially the game changer.
Potentially, we'll have to see what TF10 have got in store, haven't we? Yeah, we are getting to that crunch point, aren't we? Strategically, of you know, this stop, and it could very well, you know, decide the race. As could be the last couple laps of this stint. You know, who's better when the tyres begin to wear? Who's got better tyre wear? Is it Silo or is it T-Show? Who can keep the lap times further down where the tyres wear? Is it Silo or is it T-Show? We don't know. You know, whose style could lend to what. But T-Show, he looks like, for now at least, he's slowly closing a little bit. I mean, it's a fascinating contrast in styles, isn't it? You know, I mentioned it earlier, but when you watch Silo, it's all, you know, very wheels in line, you know, corner speed. That's what we're gaining out. Corner speed. And whereas with T-Show, you can kind of see him, you know, he's taking, you know, a chunk out of him on the brakes, sacrificing the middle of the corner, and then trying to punch it out on the exit, which is basically what's happening through Tarzan. Just the issue is, it seems like through that corner on this game, corner speed in a tighter line is the way forward. But this is the closest T-Show has actually ever been, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I'd say this is pretty close now, actually. And Lucas and Schumacher, by the way, have pitted for another set of hard tyres, and the right choice as well, because the mediums would not go the distance just yet. This is the closest T-Show has been. Gap around about 0.6 of a second coming out of Tarzan, as they now approach into the very first corner, or the very last corner of this one here, as we've got people pitting. Volokongan is pitting a little bit earlier than anticipated. Laffiti has also decided to match him in this one as well. Curiously, Volokongan is pitting first, while Dirk, on 20-lap-old hard tyres, is staying out again. in this race. A very curious strategy call here from SCI to pit Volakonga. Probably no surprises because they'd rather pit their fastest man first. But they are now leaving on a fresh set of hard tyres once again. The question is who's going to go the distance to go to another set of mediums? Or is the choice tyre another set of hard tyres here? As we've got potentially people now leaving the pit lane. KJ leaving. Claudio getting into a little bit of a battle here with the likes of Schumacher. You've got Lucas also in the mix as well. This is a battle for P12 in this race, and the scraps of points in this one as well. Claudio of AMR alongside EVR, and that don't be discredited, that is not EVE, that is RSC in the Ferrari. Quantum only in P11, a very lonely P11, but of course now one of a few people who have decided to make the pit stops.
And
now back to the people towards the front. Now we've got the next set of pit stops in. Silo is in, Ticho is in, Matteo of course staying out as to not double stack the Alpines, as Ticho has got a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and that is game over in terms of the race win, I would suspect, for the Aston Martin outfit. Bitterly disappointing stuff. He hasn't put a foot wrong throughout this entire race, and then he jumps into the pit lane too quickly indeed. Volakonga also gets the jump on Ticho as well. It's absolutely great stuff from SCI, who have managed to get Volakonga in a position to now race directly with Silo. But in this situation, Ticho, it's going to be a scrap here to get P3.
Indeed it is. It's just got to kind of forget about it and just kind of make the most of what he can get on track. While mentioned about SCI, the reason I reckon, of course, Volakonga's the one in that, that quartet leading. But of course, you've got to remember, Dirk has to go to a set of medium tyres. He can't go for another set of hards because he hasn't pitted yet. So he has to go longer to make sure the mediums can get to the end. Whereas Volakonga could just put on another set of hards and go for it like everyone else seems to be doing. Dirk is in this time around. Matteo stays out, interestingly enough. So Matteo's going for something a little different. Dirk into the pit lane for what will be a set of mediums to end this Grand Prix. Monza retires.
Safety car. He's retired in the pit lane. We did see this would be a problem. He's retired. What's happened there is Monza from QRT has crashed it into the pit lane entry and has brought the safety car out as a result. Now, people who have elected to pit are now re-established back into this race a lot further up than perhaps they expected to be. So Dirk is now in P7. And with a fresh set of medium tyres with much more grip. Oh, make that P6. Ticho's in the grass. He's lost it on the bouncing curbs, and that's another uncharacteristic mistake from the man at TF10. What is happening with Ticho? Has he got that 10-second penalty, and has it completely caught him off guard? Did he end up having to pile himself into the gravel because he knew he was about to get a drive-through for speeding under the safety car? I'm not sure, but either way, he's now relegated to P9. He's dropped it. Tiago is now the lead driver at TF10, but Dirk on a fresh set of medium tyres with a safety car period in mind. If that goes for, let's say, 3 laps, he falls right into the perfect window for these medium tyres. Dirk's race is now back on.
So who else's race is back on? Current race leader, Matteo. Free pit stop, perfectly timed. Where is he going to come out? He elected, didn't he, to stay out a bit longer, whether it's to get more of an offset, maybe a set of mediums himself. He's also locked in, as my controller vibrates like crazy. Hards, fresh set of hards, that's not a bad idea.
Wait, Silo.
Let's see.
Silo's only at the final corner here.
Matteo's
Here's
leading.
the pit lane exit. I think Matteo is going to be leading this race, but he is on a set of hard tyres. Where's Silo in this one? It's an ETA 1-2, ladies and gentlemen. As it stands from Volakonga, from Sieb, who will be in P5. What an effort from IRT this will be, as he gets P4 back because Dirk! What's happened to Dirk? I think he's been given the call. And he's been given the call to give the position back.
What is going on,
He's been given the call to give the position back, and Sieb has then been told you've got to give the position back once again. So, answers on a postcard there, folks, but as it stands so far, no surprises here from where people are in terms of the pit stops, ET8 and SCI are leading from the front in P1, P2, P3, P4, but IRT are in P5 on a considerably better tyre, with Max von der Gies from Ventauri in P6, Tiago is P7. While this is all happening, Ticho has decided to serve his 10-second penalty. He now moves to a set of soft tyres to the end of this race. I mean, that's a bold call. If this goes another 3 laps, 10 laps on a set...
I think he's going to be in again, surely.
10 laps on a set of softs is a bold call, if I'm perfectly honest with you, but he's given it his best go anyway. So we are now behind our second safety car. As it stands, ET8 1-2, they're both on hards. Valakongen is P3 on a set of hards. Dirk is on a set of mediums in P4. Sieb and Max von der Gies also on a set of mediums. I wouldn't believe straight away here, Leopard, that this is going to end as ET8 SCI 1, 2, 3, 4. No. With those medium tyres here for IRT and VNT, that's going to mix things up.
Not just that, I mean, let's face it, these four are about to go hammer and tongs, aren't they? And it could get messy. Let's hope it doesn't. But we know that this could get messy. And this is, I think if you're SCI, you've got to remember this is more important for ET8 than it is for SCI. What I mean by that is SCI have a gap. They can afford to lose a few points here and there because they've got that buffer. It's ET8 that need the points. They need to start reeling in SCI. But of course, this is racing. And, racing drivers, more often than not, have quite big egos. And, they want to... they want to get amongst it, race on race. They, sometimes you kind of forget about championship and everything else. As expected, T-Show's gone on to now a slight scrub set of hard tyres for the rest of the Grand Prix. But yes, keep an eye on Sieb, keep an eye on Max van der Giest as well. Keep an eye on Quantum as well. He's slowly making that recovery drive, as has Max van der Giest. Remember when KJ collided on the opening lap? And had wing damage, and now he's up to 6th. Is the Venturi man? In fact, it's a solid recovery from Venturi to be 6 and 8 at this moment in time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a particularly good effort, actually, and just off of the back of that as well, whilst Phil, by the way, is 35 seconds back, so we do think that the safety car period is going to go on until the end of at least the 26th lap. We do have some provisional standings as it stands, so by what I am calculating at the moment here, Leopard, is ET8 will close down the gap by 23 points and reduce SCI's deficit to 70. As a result of this particular race. Now, that could be the big motivator for ET8, but I want to make one thing clear. Despite the fact that SCI are only going to have one driver on the podium as it stands, they will continue with their run to 8 races in a row where they've not had a driver lower than P5 as it stands, and that is a testament to Suzuki Igniters, where ET8 are doing great. SCI, the damage control has been absolutely fabulous. As it stands so far, 10 laps to go, bearing in mind, and there's definitely going to be a lot of action in this one, folks. SCI are doing a magnificent effort in terms of damage control.
Yep, they are. They're going about their business in a very professional manner, as they have done all season. When you have both your cars in the top 5 as consistently and as often as they have, it's no wonder they're in the position they're in. But for ET8, this is a huge 10 laps to try and bring up a 1-2. It's gonna be crucial, and whilst they may face challenge from SCI, there also could be challenges from Sieb, from Max van der Giest as well. As you mentioned, it's unlikely to finish like this. One thing I can also see happening pretty quickly is Valakongen moving over for Dirk.
We'll see.
Make the most of Dirk's tyres. I can see that one happening.
Safety car.
At a reasonable point.
Safety car is at the end of this lap in full capital letters once again in this one. Keep an eye out on this one, folks, because it should be an absolute cracker. It's a 10-lap dash to the end of this race. A various choice of tyres, mediums, hards, around the board, and keep a very firm eye on how Matteo decides to run this one. We've been given quite a big, strong critique of this man throughout this particular race and throughout this particular championship, to be fair. This game cycle hasn't been the best, and I'm sure Matteo will be very honest about that one, as it looks like he's worked with Silo very well to go as early as he possibly can, unlike Dirk on the last time we had a safety car. We go green again here in the Netherlands, and leading the way from Matteo, it is Silo, then Volakongan. Is Dirk going to go for the move straight away on Volakongan? And they certainly are. Very professionally done here as Volakongan relinquishes the position right back to Dirk in a reconciliation of what happened, of course, last time out under the last safety car, of course, as it looks like Lucas has gone for a spin, just approaching into turn number 3. So Dirk is now in P3. He's on a fresh set of medium tyres, but remember, they have to go the distance. Don't be decepted by the 4 laps on the medium tyres, because, of course, under that safety car, he hasn't burnt through them a lot. As soon as he gets to around about, we would say 14 laps on those medium tyres, that is when you'd start to think, ooh, this is where it started to feel a little bit uncomfortable. He has got plenty of time to consider moves here. The question is Silo going to act as a defender, or is he going to try and at least carry both of the positions here for the Alpine ET8 outfit?
We'll have to wait and see. I mean, this is when Dirk's tyres is best. This is when he's probably going to be at his most dangerous on a fresh set of medium compound tyres. And, well, yeah, how do you play it? How well are the mediums going to last? Is it going to be in, a constant position of attack throughout the rest of this stint, or is it a case of go big now or regret it later? We'll have to wait and see. But Dirk is definitely the man to watch at this current moment in time on lap 28 of 36 here in the Dutch Grand Prix, here in Legacy Division. What can Max van der Gies do? What can Sieb do as well? We're going to have to wait and see. Van der Gies looks racy in that Red Bull car. What's happening? Is there anything happening further back? It's all kind of spaced out a little bit, but yeah, most of the eyes, most of the attention. Silo, I think, got a little bit of a wobble through there, and maybe another one. I think that's going to leave vulnerable. Dirk might be thinking about a move into Tarzan. No, he'll be too far back for Tarzan, but he might be looking to set something up very soon.
Certainly going to be looking for it. It has to be done fairly quickly here, because Sieb is also in the battle with the likes of Max van der Gies, but we're looking at the battle with Dirk here. Silo needs to get his skates on, and you know what? The last couple of laps have been absolutely fabulous from the ETA outfit here. In fact, he's actually gone faster than Dirk on that last lap, actually, despite the fact he's on the medium tyre. As it stands, ETA are on the better tyre. The better race tyre is the hard tyre as it stands. So are ETA now in their own little mojo, or they're in their own little battle potentially in this little scrap here? It's a great effort so far from the Spanish outfit to maintain control. The question, though, is SCI under any pressure from Max van der Gies and Sieb? I tell you right now, not really. I don't think Sieb is putting any pressure on the Mercedes at the moment, and if anything, I think Ventauri and Max van der Gies wants to get past Sieb as quickly as he possibly can, because he knows there is potentially an opportunity against Volakongan for P4.
Agreed. I think if Max van der Gies can get past Sieb, he might be able to launch an attack on Volakongan, but of course, before he goes and does that, he needs to go and get past Sieb, and that's the issue. That's, it's... Oh, he's nearly dropped it! Oh. That's Max van der Gies, so that allows Thiago through for TF10, up into P6. Just a lapse in concentration, bit too trigger happy on the throttle, and Max van der Gies, he did well to not fully spin it, but still, it's an error from the Venturi man, and allows Thiago back up into P6. Is Max van der Gies going to look for a move into 2 to try and claim that place right back? No, he's too far back, and I think that has undone any shot at a podium that they had.
Well, I think it's a very uncharacteristic lackadaisical situation there from Max van der Gies. They expect a little bit better from the talented man in Ventauri, but now he's down to P7. Thiago will be hoping to just hold on to P6 as it stands here, as Team TF10 at one point looking like they're on for a podium. P6 is still not a bad effort indeed from the Spanish outfit. Here is Sieb then. What a great P5 this will be for IRT. Remember, this is a team currently P8 in the standings with 71 points. Their highest position in this championship so far has been, guess where? P8. As it stands, so with a couple of fastest laps, so this will be the best performance so far for IRT, as we've got someone spinning, and it looks like Ticho has gone for a spin, and we've got a virtual safety car out on this occasion. Wards has left the session after just periodically watching, but look, this has been a race that has gone bad to worse for Ticho. He's got no front wing at all as he enters into the pit lane. fresh front wing for the Aston Martin, and now a race suddenly to forget for a man who was looking so quick in this race. And it's just that 10-second penalty. It's got into his head, hasn't it, Leopard? And he's just let this race go.
Yeah, look, there'll be positives to take from, the first half of the race, if you will. But yeah, from the minute he got that 10-second penalty, it just all unravelled, didn't it? Very quickly, and kind of error after error just started creeping in. Almost doubling down on his mistakes, sort of thing. And yeah, a race of two halves if you T-show, but positive signs from the opening half of the race. I think we can all agree on that. It was arguably. Like, what is going on here?
We go green again here, but Lafiti has now received a drive-through penalty for speeding under the virtual safety car. Ventauri's race also going for bad to worse, not for driver A, but just for driver B. He will have to serve that before the end of this race, before lap 34, otherwise he will be disqualified from this race. So that'll send him all the way down to the back of the grid, I think as far down as P15 for the final point. That's disappointing from Ventauri, who actually are going to lose a bucket of positions, lose some points here to Quantum and also Rain for that matter as well. So it could be a little bit of a mixed bag. Now, question here. If you're ETA, you've now got one hand on the trophy for the race victory here. You've got your other hand on second place. But which driver deserves what?
Don't ask me. I'm not involved in this. I mean, if it were me, as a team, you keep things simple. I wouldn't complicate things. Just keep things simple. Yeah, that's all I can really say. I mean, the main goal of this kind of season is for the team. It's a joint effort. We don't need to be kind of favouring one driver or the other. So I'd, if it were me, provided there's no threat from behind, which I think as the laps tick on by, that's gonna fade. Don't do anything unnecessarily complicated, if it were me.
So, I mean, the situation report is that Matteo is on a better tyre than Silo at the moment, and even though Silo has been leading this race, he's been setting, the timing boards are light throughout this entire race weekend. It would be an absolute banger. And actually, if you think about it as well, this particular, if I'm right in saying, I'm just trying to figure it out now if my memory serves me right, this is technically going to be a Grand Slam for Silo if he ends up winning this race as well. So there is actually a personal endeavour here for Silo, because he got pole in the sprint and won the sprint. He got pole in this race. If he wins this race, it's a Grand Slam, isn't it? So are ETA going to say to Matteo, get out of the way and let him have this Grand Slam just on a personal level? Or have they got to think about the championship and not try and complicate matters? It's a very tricky one, but I think the team has to come into priority here.
Of course, I mean, if they wanted to, and there's absolutely no threat from behind, which looks to be fading literally by the lap, by the second it looks like. I think Dirk's mediums have gone past the sell-by day, and it's just a case of getting to the end. They might swap those two back around, or they may keep Volkongen as a shield for Dirk for the rest of this Grand Prix. Let's see how that one pans out. But yeah, I mean, we might actually, could be seeing a move now? I think we are. Yeah, here we go. Silo to the inside of Matteo. With 3 laps to go of this Dutch Grand Prix, Silo moves into the lead, and Volkongen also moves back onto the podium ahead of Dirk. So Dirk is going to be vulnerable, and keep an eye on Thiago. He might be able to snag a P4 here. Yeah,
and keep an eye on Sieb as well, because he's trying to hold on to P5 here, and it'll be the greatest performance from the international racing team this season as well. Of course, P8 is their top position so far this season, so it could be a good points haul here. If they manage to get P5, they'll rise up to 89, and because of the double DNF from QRT, they may jump up a couple of positions here. Ticho's got the fastest lap of this race, but you need to be in the top 10 to take that fastest lap, so as far as I'm aware, that will still fall in line with Matteo at ET8 as it stands as well. Positions are being added in as well. Thank you very much, Luke, who's just had our thoughts have been connected there. It's exactly what we wanted to see. Volkongen, 34 of 36. He is now 2 seconds back from ET8 here. Now, look, it's credit where credit's due here to the Shizou Cedar Igniters. Yes, they did their best to try and invert the strategies, try their hardest to potentially put a bit of pressure, but with that second safety car period, fell perfectly in line with ET8 strategy, and as a result, the 1-2 is going to probably fall in the hands of the Spanish outfit. But the Scottish outfit have done the best in terms of damage limitation, in terms of a 1-2, by finishing 3-4 as it stands. Gap behind with Seeb is still around about 3/4 of a second, and Tiago is hot on the heels, but with a lap and a bit to go here, I think SCI have got a little bit of confidence.
Yeah, they do. I mean, it could get a little bit sketchy if Tiago manages to put a move on Seeb, but again, where do you make that move comfortably? And you've got to be so close to make a move. And to be fair, with the way they invert the strategies with Dirk, it's what's put Dirk in that position. Because without that, he'd been slightly further down the top 10, wouldn't he? So it's that strategy call that's allowed Dirk, to run the race where he has done, on the podium for a brief moment leading, and now looks set for a P4 finish, because Seeb's mediums, of course, are also fading. And you can see fishtailing out the final corner. We'll see if Tiago might be able to put a move to snag P5, but I don't think he's going to be catching Dirk anytime soon. But meanwhile, we're on the last lap, and it looks set for an ETA 1-2.
Yeah, looking set here as I'm just keeping an eye on Dirk, who's found a little bit of second wind, would you believe, now in those medium tyres. So is it now SCR telling him you're free to race? I'd be very surprised if that is the situation.
Not at this point.
Gap still 3/4 of a second with Seeb, so I don't think they're going to be too concerned about an overtake from anyone behind. But Tiago is certainly looking like he's getting closer and closer to the back of Seeb. Again, I'm vouching for Seeb here. I'm always a big fan of the TF10 team, but let's be honest here. IRT, a team currently down P8 in the standings, as it stands so far, are going to rise to P6.
It's going to be tight.
Here as well.
But
he's going to have a run here, potentially going into Tarzan. Is he going to look for it then? He's going to get the toe. He's using as much of his ERS as he possibly can. He might go for the late breaker, but the move is not going to be there. We have to go back towards the front. It has been a valiant performance from the Spanish outfit in the reverse direction. They may be the kings of the sprint, but they're going to be kings of the Netherlands. It's a great reverse 1-2 for Silo and from Matteo, but it's a great defensive effort from SCI for 3-4. It's a valiant effort from International Racing Team. Their best performance of the season in P5. Tiago, a great performance from TF10 team to finish in P6, but it will be a question of what could have been more for them. Ventauri finishing P7 with Max von der Gies, especially after lap 1. That's a great performance. Quantum FRT, another one. We'll be wondering what if finishing in P8. Great effort from Schumacher to finish 9th. AMR rounding out the top 10. It's another EVR for P11, then Phil in P12. Rain is in 13th, and Taicho finishing in a very lowly 14th place. RSC will finish with 15th place and a lack of a good chunk of front wing with Lucas. He finishes in P15. He's missing it, not just end plate, he's missing flaps as well. Lafitte will finish in the end after serving his drive-through penalty at the back of the grid with Neil Point, and 16th place for him. It is a valiant effort indeed from these drivers. They have been absolutely fabulous to watch throughout this particular race, but it is a top step of the podium and a 1-2 for the team looking to try and battle it out with SCI. They closed the gap down to 69 points of a deficit.
Indeed, they have, and that is going to be a massive confidence booster, isn't it? For, well, not just Matteo, not just the entire team. That's a big morale boost, isn't it? To take a chunk of points out of SCI and to do it in the fashion that they have, a 1-2. The only thing that might be a little disheartening for them is like, yes, we got 1-2, and SCI have limited the damage in literally the best way they possibly could have, and that's always kind of a, always a bit of a dampener when you're trying to reel in, whether it be just simply a driver's title, you're trying to reel in someone and they just, you put in a perfect race and they finish second right behind you and literally limit the damage as much as possible. It always can be a bit disheartening, but nevertheless, that's a good chunk of points they've taken out of SCI, and they...
Silo, I just need to interrupt you. Silo from Matteo, Valaconga, Dirk from Seeb, Tiago, Max von der Gies from Quantum, Schumacher, Claudio. Then you got KJ, Phil, Rain, Ticho, Lucas, and then Lafitte. Monza, Wards, and Paulos did not finish this race. You were just saying there, it is disappointing in the end when it comes to, what the drivers were expecting in the terms of ETA. They wanted the best performance they can. They've done that. What will be the disheartener for them is the fact that their closest co-compatriots, as I said, are in second place, third and fourth, really, isn't it? They've just managed to defend from that one with a very solid P3, P4 finish. Now, they'll be happy they've managed to get both of their drivers to outscore, but the fact is despite all of this, ET812 is a great momentum to take into round 9, but SCI being 3-4, they'll be the ones weirdly happier. It's such a mad position to be in.
It is, but that's the way it can go. You know, as I was saying, it can be such a sickener almost. You put in a result like that, and you literally get the minimum amount you possibly could have in terms of reward. It can be so disheartening when you're trying to reel in, a team or a driver, and they literally just stick on your tail like that. You know, there's SCI. Despite an ETA 1-2, SCI have given ETA absolutely nothing. They have limited the damage as well as they could have. And for now, if you're ETA, that's just a mentality thing now. As we go to Silverstone next week, it's they've got to look at that in a positive light of, yes, we got a 1-2. Let's build on this. Let's use this momentum instead of, thinking about the negative of, they've limited damage as best as possible, and it kind of, which will be very easy to do because you then start to think, what do we have to do? What we're doing everything here. We're doing the best we can. Like, what more can we do? And the answer to that question is keep doing what you're doing. Use that momentum. Because whilst as invincible, as consistent, as professional as SCI have been all season, if ETA can keep the pressure up, can slowly chip away at that gap, something's going to give eventually, because that's what pressure does, no matter how strong you are.
That is what indeed pressure does. I'm trying to do the maths in my head at the moment, but if I think I'm right in saying we now have round 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So there's 7 rounds left. We've got 506 points for SCI now as it stands, and there is 504 points on the table, not including fastest laps. So SCI could still theoretically finish with over 1,000 points in this tournament, but they do need to get continuous 1-2s in order to be able to do that. So if SCI were looking for 1,000 points, this particular tournament, this particular race alone has completely harmed that possibility. So if they were striving for something, those aspirational targets, it's certainly been made a little bit harder as a result of ET8's performances, but they broke down the gap from what was 93 now down to 69. Nice. Ventari on 289 points behind SCI in the end, 354 back as FRT on 152. AMR with that 10th place finish from the lonely driver, of course, after Dom had to leave early due to a power failure for him, so they are now on 100 points exactly now into this season. IRT have risen from 8th to 6th as a result of that cracking performance from Phil to go P5. They're now on 93. QRT double DNF from them. It's a really poor result from the Williams outfit. They are now in P7 on 80 and remain on 84. RSC are on 76, now down to P8 on the virtue of just getting that solitary point from Lucas, despite having half a front wing left in that one as well. And then EVR 9th and 11th place. It's not a bad performance to say the least from EVR. You know, they keep churning out the points in every single race that they've taken part in, other than DNFs. They've actually scored a point. So they are consistently churning points. It's just that unfortunately they're too low down to earn the big points, and as a result they're on 70. They have now overtaken though Hadrick Racing. They obviously now finish on 61. They closed their doors this week. TF10 are on 26 points under the virtue of a 6th and 7th in the sprint race and 6th and 14th place in the main race. So we now go into round number 9 then here, Leopard. Of course, we're on our final reverse track and our penultimate sprint race of this season. October 21st, we are at Silverstone for the British Grand Prix. It was a race of high attrition in the end, and I think we should expect more of the same at the Grand Britannia.
Yeah, that's gonna be a fun one. I mean, again, just thinking, where are the moves gonna be made? Because the track changes, doesn't it? So that'll be a fun one, I reckon. Just like Zandvoort. Yeah, just thinking about where moves can be made. It's gonna be, yeah, that's gonna be a fun one. I mean, doing Mags and Beckett in reverse. cops in reverse, and all of that. That'll be yeah, that'll be a sight to behold, I reckon.
Yeah, should be an absolute cracker of a race, that one as well. I'm not sure what's happening in terms of commentary output. I know that my lateness for the last couple of weeks has been caused by sort of moments outside of my control this week as a result of a water mains burst, which flooded part of the streets, which led to a few diversions. But hopefully next week everything should be back on track, as we will be back on track, as I said, for the Silverstone Grand Prix, British Grand Prix Le Grand Bretagne on October 21st. As I said, we take a trip to the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, of course, in Imola for the Halloween weekend, October 28th. We then take a trip over to Miami for November 11th. That is a couple of weeks after the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Then Japan, Italy as well for the final sprint race of the season on November 25th. December 3 for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix before we wrap it up at where else but the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix on December 10. What an absolute cracker of a race. Very quickly then, Leopard, how would you sum up that particular race?
Well, I think from the get-go, from seemingly not just us in the commentary box, but also for drivers, it was one of technical difficulties, wasn't it, to begin with, and kind of continue throughout. But it was also, an interesting one, was strategically, particularly with the safety cars, and it was good fun to kind of, or it was intriguing to kind of see the different styles between Tisha and Silo. Of course, Tisha dropped out of it in the end, but a very fascinating Dutch Grand Prix, or reverse Dutch Grand Prix, and yeah, it's kind of my first time also seeing or being part of a race in reverse, if that makes any sense at all. But yeah, I'd certainly say it's lives up to expectation. Definitely hasn't disappointed.
Definitely not disappointed indeed would be the way that I'd describe it as well. But usually a race that's not usually one for overtaking, but we did see plenty of it. We should be here for another one of an absolute cracker of racing at the Grand Bretagne in Silverstone, as I said, for the British Grand Prix next week, of course, at the usual time at 7:15 on a Tuesday night. Of course, don't forget there are plenty of other racing events happening over on WOR. Give us a follow on X if you haven't already, at WOR League. Of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel as well if you haven't already. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week for our home Grand Prix in Great Britain. Take care. Ta-da.